As we continue the Javelina Virtual Coaches Caravan on the Javelina Day of Giving, I'm Ryan Smith, joined by head track and field cross-country coach Ryan Dall. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that if you'd like to give to Javelina Track and Field, you can visit javelinagiving.org/oneday or text Go Hogs to 202-858-1233. Your support means a lot to us and lets us field champions both on and off the field. Now, Coach Dall, part of your success here in Kingsville has been through international athletes, Kaina Martinez from Belize and Charles Greaves from Barbados. What specifically do you look for in an international athlete? What are some of the challenges and benefits that come from recruiting somebody internationally and bringing them down to Kingsville?
It can be quite challenging for those international kids to get here. The main thing is getting them into school. That they have to take more tests than say an American kid. They have to, depending on where they're from and what their native language is. The process is a little more difficult than an American student. There's visas and things like that they have to go through to get. So, that process for them is definitely a little more time-consuming. But we've been able to get it done. A lot of the times the international students, they really recruit us more so. We don't have the budget of a Power 5 program where I could fly around the world and go see these athletes compete. So it's really up to them or to contact us, or a lot of them they pay services to contact coaches for them. So we get a lot of them that way, and also through some friends of mine that I know that have contacts internationally, other coaches and things like that help steer some athletes to our institution. And success certainly has a big part of that. When I first got here, we weren't really getting any international athletes, but when you start showing up on national ranking lists and start finishing higher at nationals, then that tends to draw more attention to your program. So we're able to get more international athletes, get more exposure to those athletes, and be able to get more real good ones in here that can help our team. So it's definitely a longer process. An American kid, we could start recruiting them, and then within 3-4 weeks they could be admitted and be ready to come to school. But an international kid, it takes a little bit longer, so a little more involved process. But we're able to get it done here, and I think it's a great place here for international students, especially from the Caribbean, South America. The climate is great. We have some kids from Mexico, and it's an easy transition here, with the culture in Kingsville, and so it definitely is a great place. I think even for the European athletes to come here and have the good weather, and with track and field, the climate is definitely important for training, things like that. So we have all the things that those athletes are looking for, I think, when they start looking at schools.
And something I've noticed being around your track and field program is the character of the athletes. They're all just great people. One of the highest team GPAs on campus. And then you certainly have athletes like Kaina Martinez, who made waves as a finalist in the NCAA Woman of the Year competition for all the hard work that she's put in back in her home country and doing charity work and such. Is that something specifically you look for in a recruit, or is that something that just gets instilled through them through being in a collegiate program?
I think it's a little of both, honestly. I think, you certainly try to look for that in the student athletes that you're recruiting. But I think we've been lucky also in that we've gotten some athletes that really work hard, have good work ethic. But also, when they get here too, I think they see a hard-working group of athletes that have high goals and aspirations, and so it's a lot easier to fall into line with those things when you see the older athletes doing those things and having success. It's a lot easier to follow someone and see them at practice every day, see what they're doing, and then say, okay, if I want to be a national champion, this is how I have to train. This is how I have to do in my classes. I got to make sure I pass my classes. I got to do all these things if I want to be eligible, and then also be successful and be as successful as possible. And so, I always tell the athletes that my job is to get them to reach their potential as an athlete. For some students, that might be just scoring in our conference or something like that. For some, it might be being a national champion. But whatever it is, my goal as a coach is to get them to that level. And I tell them, if you just come to practice, work hard every day, do the things the coaches are asking you to do, then you can certainly get to whatever the highest level of achievement that you're able to get to. So, I think we've been able to do that. And again, when you have athletes that have accomplished those things, it's a lot easier for the athletes to buy into what we're trying to do. And along with that, we don't really tolerate a lot of nonsense and things like that, because it just takes away from what you're trying to do. I try not to have the athletes here a super amount of time each day. I try to get them in, work hard, and get them back out so they can go eat, do their schoolwork, study. Student athletes have a ton of things going on. A lot of them have jobs, that they have to work. So, I try to get the most bang for the buck as we can, and there's just not a lot of time for messing around and things like that. I mean, we have fun as well, but there's also a time when you got to work, and I think our athletes understand that.
When speaking of work, we've had a tremendous number of walk-ons go on to compete at the national meet, and Rachel Samoye specifically went from a walk-on to a national champion. Why do you think such a large number of people who've walked on into your program have been able to succeed at the highest level the way that they have?
Well, I think in Texas, it's such a huge state, and there's so many student athletes, and a lot of them go through high school and maybe are a little underdeveloped. I think high school coaches do a great job, but it's easy for a kid to kind of, especially in a technical event, if they don't have a specific expertise in that area for a coach in high school, they could be a really great athlete, like for Rachel's example, and just not develop in high school to the point to where they should. So, I think that's one of the reasons, and then, we've always prided ourselves here as a coaching staff on, being good technical coaches and getting athletes to understand the event that they're doing and what they need to do to get better in that event. So, you have people like Rachel or Jonathan Harper and Dean Wallace, that have come here as walk-ons and have really excelled. And, the other key part of that is those athletes are extremely hard-working people too. Mm-hmm. So, you have to have all those things come together. The athlete has to understand they got to work hard to get better. And we have a great coaching staff, Coach Petroci with the throwers and Coach Sampson with the distance and mid-distance runners really do a good job developing those athletes. And so I think, it's a combination of things, but, being in Texas, so many schools, so many athletes, so many, students in the high schools, and, I think it's common to find some diamonds in the rough, I would say. And that's why we don't really do any tryouts. We pretty much take anybody that wants to try to be on the team, and then, we have a whole fall to kind of see where they're at, and if they've look like they're going to make it, then we keep them. If not, they usually understand it themselves. Mm-hmm. They can't do all the things that they need to do, and that's fine. Some of those athletes move on and help out, like yourself, right? And do other really great things with athletics or whatever it is they want to do. So it's definitely great to be here and have those kind of kids. I think they're the most fun to work with. Obviously it's great to work with a great athlete like a Charles Graves or a Jerron Robinson, and they're super fun. But at the same time, it's the most rewarding to take a kid who came here, maybe their expectations weren't super high, right? And then to take them, to a point where they're a national qualifier or a national champion. I mean, it's just very rewarding to see that transition, and it's a lot of fun to work with those kind of kids because you get to see the improvement. And when you're out the track at practice, and if something clicks that maybe they've been working on for a while, it's like a light bulb comes on, and just those kind of moments, you can't really plan or take them for granted. It's just really cool to have someone do those kind of things and have those experiences, and also you see the confidence that they gain in themselves, which is also very rewarding.
How rewarding is it letting somebody who walked onto the team know that they've earned a scholarship?
Oh, I mean, it's great. I think those kind of things can be, somewhat life-changing, and in a lot of circumstances, take the pressure off, or some of the pressure off their families, who might be struggling to allow them to be here at school, and college is not getting cheaper by any means. And so, when an athlete can earn money toward their school and help them out, I mean, it's great. I wish I had 100 scholarships, to be able to give to. We have so many that are deserving. I mean, if you look, our men's team right now, we have almost 60 guys on our roster. And so, just about every one of those athletes, is probably deserving of some level of scholarship, just for being out there every day and working their butts off, and you'd like to be able to reward every one of them that does that. And so, it's important, to have things like we are today. This is what it's all about, the support that our department can get from outside people. You can't really quantify it, because there's so many ways that can change a person's life, and make it easier for them when they leave college to not have as much debt, or to not have to take a certain job right away because they need to pay off their loans and things. And so, I feel like we love to help as many as we can in that way. But at the same time, in our program, you got to earn it. You got to make sure that, those things are earned by the athletes. And I think, our program does a good job with that. We reward people for doing well. We've had people that have come in, maybe for a small scholarship and have left here, last year on a full scholarship. And so, all those each year, those increases were earned basically by their performance at the conference meet or the national meet, and how many points they can score and things like that. And so, as an athlete gets better, you're able to reward them more, and it's also motivation for them to continue to get better and working hard and things like that. I think you see a lot of programs out there that give away a huge scholarship to athletes coming in the door, and if they don't hit certain benchmarks, they cut them back as they go along.
That can be demoralizing.
Yeah, it's not good for their families too, because then it's hard to plan. How much am I going to have to pay this year? How much, And I tell our recruits, I say, I might be offering you less coming in the door, but at the same time, if you do certain things, you can get more money each year. Now where your budget might be this, the next year you budget that again, and you might not have to pay that much. Now it's easing some burden on you, instead of having a surprise at the end of the year where, we got to pay more next year because you didn't run a fast enough 100 meters or something. To me, that's not really the right way to do things. I'm someone who would rather reward than punish. So, and maybe we lose some recruits that way because they're offered more money at different places coming in the door. But to me, it's just, the most fair way to do things. And, with our program, that's really the way that I want it to be run.
And you can help out those athletes, again, by visiting javelinagiving.org/oneday, and you can text Go Hogs to 202-858-1233. Now, two walk-ons who I've had a lot of experience and a lot of fun working with and covering are Jonathan Harper and Dean Wallace, two of your multi-athletes. What do you look for in a recruit? Because Texas UIL track, there is no multi-event for the younger guys. What makes you decide I'm going to try and mold this person into being able to compete in 10 events over 2 days?
Yeah, I think it takes a certain type of athlete to be able to do those kind of things. Certainly you look for someone who can be well-rounded. I think John and Dean were a little bit different in high school in that I think Dean coming in had done a little bit more than John had done, so he had maybe a little bit more events to learn and things, and so we redshirted John his freshman year so he could do that. I think you kind of look for a well-roundedness. I think speed is certainly a key when it comes to the multis, or explosiveness. Because there's a lot of jumping events, a lot of sprinting events, or sprinting and jumping events, and so. I think, someone who's kind of, slow or something, is probably not ideal. You need to have a certain amount of speed, and then the ability to pick up technical events fairly easily, And so through the fall, we kind of maybe start people off experimenting with it and see how they pick up the events. If they seem to be able to pick things up quickly, then we continue on with it, And then when we get to January and we're ready to compete, then we decide, okay, you either come along enough to be able to compete, or we feel like we need to redshirt you so you can continue to learn these events. I don't like to put people out there into a competition unless they're ready, because I feel like that can be difficult on the athlete. They can, for their confidence and things, I find that it's, less of a positive, to do that. Even though redshirting is hard and it's hard to stay home when everyone's traveling, in the long run, the athletes can see, the benefits of it. Just look at John for an example. He came in here, he never pole vaulted, never threw anything, never high jumped, all these things. But then we redshirted him, and then his second year, he's an All-American. Mm-hmm. Had we put him into competitions his first year, he certainly would not have been an All-American, and then that was a season of eligibility that would be gone. So, you just got to look at the individual and see how they do. We got some young ones coming in this year that I'm excited about, both male and female. And the female side, we haven't really been able to get that going like I would like to, but we have two females this year that came in this fall that I think can do good things in the multis. Again, we just kind of have to see how they progress and how well they do through the fall, and take it from there. But they're definitely good enough athletes to have success.
And without getting too somber, Jonathan Harper qualified to the 2020 Indoor Track and Field National Championships, but unfortunately was not able to compete due to the COVID-19 pandemic. How, as a coach, did you handle letting him and both Destiny Henderson, who also qualified in the 60-meter dash, know that unfortunately they weren't going to be able to compete?
Well, it was probably one of the toughest things I've ever done as a coach. We were there at the meet, and we got to the day before we're supposed to compete. We had a coaches meeting, and at that point in the afternoon, everything was still on. Everything was still a go. And then as the evening progressed, things kind of got worse. And then, as everybody knows, when the NBA canceled games, mm-hmm. that just started a huge trickle down to every sport. And so we got the message at the hotel, and excuse me, I had to call those athletes into the room, and explain it to them. I mean, they took it as well as you can. I think, when something like that happens, it's unprecedented. It's never been anything like that before. It's happened, in competition, and so, they were certainly disappointed. Because I was disappointed. I mean, I think both of them were ready to have season or career best performances at the national meet, which is exactly what you train for and what you try to do. And I really think John was in a good position to win that heptathlon. So, I think it was tough, but they handled it well. And then, of course, you didn't know what was going to happen going forward. You didn't, nobody knew we'd be sitting here in September
wearing
in
masks.
Yeah. So, I think if they had known that, they probably would have even taken it better. But at the time, you didn't know if it was going to be something that was going to be gone in a week or a month or whatever. So, it was disappointing and, certainly difficult situation. We had to get out, we had to change flights and just kind of scramble to even just get back home. It was a little difficult, but it was certainly disappointing. I feel bad for those athletes because it's something they'll never get back. And in a case like John's, certainly he can go back to the national meet, but you never get that moment back. And so that's the toughest part of it. Is just moments like that are unique, and so while that situation can be repeated, that moment can never be repeated.
On a lighter note, real quickly before we close things out, very recently we released the indoor and outdoor all-decade teams for track and field. Before we close things out, could you share your favorite moment from the past decade that you had as a coach?
Whew. Well, I mean, obviously winning the national championship as a team in 2018 is the biggest highlight. I think team championships at the NCAA level is the single hardest thing to win, in any sport. And there's been tons of programs that have won individual national championships that had individuals win, but there's only one national champion team every year. And so, going back in the history of the NCAA to whatever it started, and there's probably less than 100 teams that have ever won an outdoor championship. So that's huge, and that's huge for our program. It's huge for our athletes. But there's been obviously innumerable. Every single national individual champion is amazing. One that stands out, Jonathan Woodson was my first individual national champion indoors. He won the 200.
Indoor athlete of the decade.
Yes, yeah, indoor athlete, just a great sprinter, really good guy, great athlete, football player as well. And at nationals, they let the coach of the winning athlete give the awards, right? So, I had been to a couple national meets and watched coaches do that. And that's really a special thing when you can get out there with the athlete and, you get to hand them their trophy and give them their medal. And so the first time doing that was certainly something I'll never forget, because you never know at that point, this might be your only national champion ever of your life. And so
I'm hoping for a few more.
Yeah. I mean, so at that time, you're like, wow, this is, the greatest thing ever. I get to be out here, and we had this guy win. So, and then great Duran, obviously. I mean, amazing things that guy did to be the all-time D2 record holder, national championships, Olympic trials. Qualifying.
He had the best jump in the world for a while.
Best jump in the world. I mean, things like that are just incredible, and it's hard to even, think about it in the moment, how big those things are, and just so many, Jordan Yamoa in the pole vault winning multiple national championships, relays are always fun. Or when our women's team won the 4x4, that was, I was actually on the infield for that because I was on the NCAA sport committee, so I got to be down there watching them. And I mean, those are very hard to win too. Relay national championships, everything has to go right. And talking with those women early in the season, I said, "Hey, look, you girls have the talent to win the national championship this year. If you work at this and really want it, you can get it. And to go out there and have them prove me right was nice because I knew they could do it all along, but they're the ones that have to get out there and get it done. So that was a lot of fun to watch. There's so many great moments that have happened here. I mean, Jonathan Woodson at a conference meet in the 4x4 last event, coming from about 25 meters behind and, with a 45-second 400 split, running down the Angelo State runner and winning the 4x4 to end the meet. I mean, our first conference team championship here in Javelina Stadium.
In our backyard.
And not having won one, for 40 years before that, and that was a big program goal for us, was to win a conference championship. And we had come so close 2 years prior. We lost by 5.5 points, and that was just heartbreaking. So, to have a lot of those same guys still be on the team and be able to win one. And do it here in front of our home fans and in Javelina Stadium and have everybody around to really enjoy that. That was amazing too. So, just so many things, that have happened. It's almost unbelievable, when you sit and you think about it, to me. But so I try not to think about it, I try to focus on the here and now and then the future. I think as a coach, you can't dwell too much on what you've done, and also for my athletes, we don't want them to dwell on their past success. We want to keep having more success and more success. So you can't just sit back and say, okay, we've done a lot. We've done everything we want to do. I mean, and we probably have. I mean, what else is there left, except to try to win every year, I guess, which is, impossible. But, we just try to focus on what we're doing now and our goals moving forward. And, it's up guys like you guys to, have things like this where we could talk about past accomplishments, and it's great. And I love it. And I love talking about it with the athletes. But, as coaches and athletes, currently we got to focus on what we can do this year and how many championships we can win this year. And I think we have great teams, both men and women. I think we probably had our best female recruiting class since I've been here this year. And so a lot of talented women coming in. I'm excited for that. We got our biggest female roster we've ever had. We got a great men's team. We brought in some really talented male athletes. I'm excited for them. And, I'm just really excited to get this year going. Hopefully it gets going sooner than later, and we're able to really showcase the athletes that we have, because we have some great ones on both sides, men and women. So hopefully we can get past everything that's going on now and have a great season. I know we're capable of it. And everybody out there that's watching, please help the program, help Javelina Athletics. We need it right now more than ever. Obviously, times are hard for everyone, but if you have the ability to help, we certainly appreciate it. The athletes appreciate it. So, thank you for doing this for us.
And as we close out, you can help out again by visiting javelinagiving.com/oneday, and you can text Go Hogs to 202-858-1233.